button. We are officially recording, and you know who we are. We're DAIT. My name's Laura. For those of you that are just joining for the first time today, if this is your first time, first of all, let us know in the chat. Show us some love. You're in for a real treat if this is your first session. We keep it fun, and today especially, we are all in the holiday spirit. But like I said, my name's Laura Ogando. I'm the program manager for the Office of Digital Literacy and Inclusion. Been with the DOE now for 11 years. Helping folks to make accessible content, integrate technology into the content areas, and just help folks, do this, because it's not the easiest thing. We totally understand, but you don't have to do it alone. I'm going to pass it over to Lisa to introduce herself.
Hello, parent coordinators, and happy holidays. Thank you so much for spending your last Friday before the holidays with us. I am the senior director of the office that Laura works in, and we are just really excited to share some good ideas for social emotional learning, health for not only the families and students that you work with, but for you too. So thank you for being here today. And I guess I'll turn it over to Christina.
Thanks, Lisa. I always say I have to get one of those mics. I just like that introduction. There's nothing quite like that introduction. Hi, everyone. Y'all know me. My name is Christina Vasias. I work as part of the EdTech program team. I'm an EdTech program implementation manager. I have the pleasure of working with digital literacy and inclusion. My role surrounds very much the intersections of technology and pedagogy, and I'm excited to always think about how we can bring that to this awesome dynamic group of parent coordinators. Passing it back to Laura.
Thank you, ladies. And just because she's shy, but she is here, Latikwa Spivey, she's our awesome assistant. She's always on the back end, and she does a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Honestly, I got to shout her out because I could not teach without her. I mean it. So thank you so much, Latikwa, for always supporting us at DIIT and making it happen in the background. Absolutely. All right. So gonna kick it over to Derry to officially kick us off for our PD Fridays. Woo!
Welcome, everyone, and thank you, Laura, and thank you, DIIT. Oh my gosh, we are so excited because it is our holiday digital PD. So it's all about just, we're always partying every Fridays, but today just feels extra special because it is the holiday season and we're just wrapping up 2021. So in the chat, if you're ready just to say goodbye 2021, just say bye bye. Let me see you in the chat say bye bye. But it also is a time that we are celebrating. I do see a lot of silver linings in 2021. It's been such a great year. We're actually reviewing some data, and we are just from FACE alone, we have seen such a tremendous increase in parent participation in our citywide PDs. We had about 20, no, actually 30,000 families join our family sessions online. So thank you so much. I mean, that is something to celebrate that we are reaching more families on a daily basis. And we're also feeling like parents are saying that although there has been challenges because we know that everyone doesn't have those digital capability, but parents are reaching out. And more, I feel like educators are seeing the value of parent partnerships. So kudos to you all because I know that you are every day working with our parents, ensuring that our parents stay connected and they are receiving the information that they need in order to help their children succeed in their education. So what I would love to do right now, I would love to spend some time just reflecting. Let's reflect. Let's share your silver lining. And we do have two of our colleagues that we're just going to hear from and just share a little bit about how are they using digital platforms to connect with families and also hear about how they're using these sessions to really engage and increase virtual engagement. So the first, I just want to welcome our first colleague, Abigail. Abigail is a family support coordinator in the Bronx. So help me just welcome Abigail from the Bronx.
Woo!
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm going to take a moment to share my screen so that I can show you, if I'm able to, my district's Teams page.
So Abigail, I just made you a co-host. You should be able to share now.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Laura.
You got it, girl.
Okay, so wanted to share with you guys how we've set up our Microsoft Teams page for our parent coordinators. Just a little background about our district. We work with certain high schools in districts 7, 9, and 12. And the Microsoft Teams page has been great, for connecting with parent coordinators, especially since we are all so spread out over the Bronx. But the way that we've set it up is we have a general page for sort of generic updates for the PCs. This is usually where we'll post about the Friday PDs. We'll have information about updates to chancellor's regulations. So each update gets its own post. And then we have other channels that are a little bit more specific in terms of the type of conversations we curate in those spaces. So we have a space called Requests for Support. So these are posts about getting tech support within the DOE. And also, if any PC wants to surface a concern that they have with their colleagues in the district, this is a place where they can have a conversation about that. Effective Solutions can be a place where people post their best practices. Updates from Central gets populated pretty frequently. We have information curated here from Principals Digest, Field Digest Weekly, and other newsletters that we get throughout the week. Digital Tools Training is a place where we post about different types of technology tool training, where they can get that the links to those workshops. And then Resources for Family is another really heavily populated channel where we post all kinds of resources, whether it be for food resources, Spanish language workshops, if it's town halls with the chancellor, anything that's family facing or student facing, we post here, and we use a combination of sort of the stock images for the banners just to make them a little more festive, and then sometimes we go in there and we'll make custom banners. But in each post, we take full use of what Microsoft Teams gives us, so we can go in there and we can put GIFs to make it a little bit more fun. You can highlight important information. You can link to certain web pages. You can get in there and give praise to people, shout out specific colleagues in the space. Sometimes we have PCs come to the top here and give a little reaction to the post. And we just encourage for the PCs to get as involved as possible. And it's really exciting to see that this has been pretty well received by our district. We're actually able to, as people who curate these spaces, you guys can go in here and manage your team and take a look at the analytics and see what the engagement is over different periods of time. So we've seen, since we've been home and working remotely, that it's been pretty steady engagement, and we check in regularly with our PCs and we ask for feedback. We ask for how we can make it better. But overall, this has been sort of a landing page for our district and a place for us to share resources, information, support each other. And, just wanted to share with that it's been really helpful for us, and maybe it could be helpful for your districts as well.
Thank you so much, Abigail. Really appreciate you sharing. Oh my gosh, so much. I'm just like over here like, yay. As you guys can see, there are so many silver linings. And thank you so much, Abigail, just for sharing your best practice, how you guys connect in a community using Teams. And at this time, I would love to introduce Lori from District 13 of the Family Leadership Coordinator. So Lori, will you help will you share a little bit about what is your silver lining and some of the best practices that you guys are doing in your districts?
Absolutely. Can I share my screen?
Absolutely.
Gonna make you a co-host. 1 second here.
Fantastic. So while you're doing that, I just want to say, welcome to Brooklyn. because that's what happens when you come to Brooklyn. So the first thing I want to say is, guys, I steal so many ideas from you. So this was my most recent PC training, and I just want to share with you some of the things I've stolen. First of all, I use Bitmojis. I use your scale of how you're feeling. And I use QR codes. And I even use Mentimeter. So thank you for that, because that is huge, huge, huge for me. That was the first thing I wanted to share. The next thing I wanted to share was a video. And you know what I realized? I'm not sure if I shared with sound. So let me make sure I'm sharing with sound, because I don't want you guys to miss a thing. And I'm going to share this video, which not only shows some of what I've been doing, but what my PCs have been doing around parent engagement. So I just want to say, you guys have made me so unafraid to try new technology, to share information about using technology. You see it being used by my PCs in their schools, their social media. I have some schools that are really, really tiny, and there's not that many kids attending in person, and they don't read the emails. You can see who reads the emails, check the analytics, but they do check Instagram. They do check Facebook. And so those PCs have picked it up and run with it. And I'm so proud. And then they engage parents. Do you think they have time to sit down and make all those great graphics? They engage parents in doing the graphics, but not for nothing. Canva is my new friend. And I made that video myself. And because I was able to do that video for work, I was actually able to do an entire virtual award ceremony outside of work using those same tools that blew everybody away. And so these tools can work for you in your life too. So just keep trying new things. I want to thank you guys for Digital Fridays. It has been tremendous. And by the way, one more thing I want to share. I took you guys up on having virtual coffee with parents. So on Monday morning, I have virtual coffee with parents at 9:30. And by the way, anybody can come. Parents, parent coordinators, principals, whoever's got a question. It's office hours, and I'm willing to answer people's questions. But in addition to that, Wednesday afternoon, I have tea. So it's a wind down. At the end of the day, it's a great chance for people to share information. And apparently, they want to talk about the undoing at our next tea. So it's just a space for people to be and talk about taking care of people. This has been the silver lining, being able to connect and use these tools to stay connected and in community. So thank you, guys.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
That
so
was
much,
great.
Lori,
That
for
was
sharing.
Talk about spilling the tea.
That was nice. I enjoyed that.
Yes,
Thank you to Abigail as well. I mean,
Yes.
guys, this is what this is all about. We
All
are
about.
trying to empower and engage with our families. We got to find the ways to connect with them. And Lori, I love that. Yes, it's about the support and getting answers, but it's also just about connecting too. So you talk about The Undoing because that was a darn good show. The ending is crazy. I mean, I love that you're doing this. This is amazing. Guys, take notes. If you're not doing stuff like this at your school, you should be. Parents need this right now. They need it. It's going to go a long way. When you got happy parents, I'm sure you guys all know, happy parents, world of difference.
And I just want to also just, I am so proud of each and every one of you because I know it's not easy. And just like Lori said, just taking a chance, and each and every one of you are taking chances every day to learn something new. And I know that it's sometimes uncomfortable, right? Not knowing. But then when you got it, you're like, whoa, I was able to do it. So that is the silver lining too. It's like we're being pushed to do things that we thought that we couldn't do, right? So kudos to each and every one of you, and thank you so much, Lori and Abigail, for sharing your silver linings and sharing what came out of this pandemic, which came out. I feel like we're really in the 21st century now. We're pushing our parents, and we're believing that our parents can do this. Because a lot of times we say, "Oh, they can't do it." No, they can, as long as we provide that community. So thank you so much, and that is our time's up with our silver lining and for sharing your best practice. But in the new year, we want to continue hearing from each and every one of you. We want this opportunity for the first 15 minutes to learn about what you're doing in your schools and your districts, because it's all about learning and growing together, right? So thank you so much. You guys rock. The party is not over because now we're going to go into our session, and I'm just going to turn it back over to Laura, so she can introduce our next guest. Bye,
Thank
guys.
you. Thank you. Again, both of you, thank you, Abigail. Thank you, Lori. You guys are doing fabulous work. And I saw in the chat, a lot of you are doing some of the same stuff. So please, we really want to capture that. We want to feature more of you. I know Lori and Abigail aren't the only ones. So please reach out to Derry. If there's things you're doing at your school and you want to feature it in our sessions, we fully support that. All right. But I'm going to turn it over to Takali, who's going to quickly run through just a couple of resources. She also has some fabulous resources for SEL that we're going to dig into, but she's going to share some quick stuff right now.
Great. Thanks so much, Laura. And I just want to reiterate, thank you, Derry, for organizing this, and Lori and Abigail, fantastic. Lori, thank you for sharing your presentation. And I'm going to also ask if folks are comfortable, if you don't mind sharing your email too, because I loved, Lori, how you were highlighting, like just trying it out. So if you're comfortable or you're trying something new, put your email in and you guys can connect for study buddies. I can tell you I'm going to share another free tool with you later. And I put in a note for Canva, a review that Lori shared. But you can ask Laura and Lisa. I'm reaching out to them all the time to try out different tools and practice with Derry as well. So please use each other, use us. And actually, I think, Laura, I'm just going to pivot. If you don't mind going to commonsense.org, I'm going to switch from Wide Open School for a minute because I'll share that later. But I do want to show people where they can find more information about using EdTech tools. So if you even see right at the top there in green, it says EdTech reviews. So Common Sense is a nonprofit. Everything is totally free. You can type in that search there, find a tool, or top picks, even that top picks list right there, and just find different tools that are free, that are great for interactivity. We have a review explaining what the tool actually is. And then my favorite part, how are educators using it? How are parent coordinators using it? Does it work? Does it engage people? Is it easy? Is it free? And that's all broken down there. And I see you're pulling up Canva right now too. Sometimes the search is a little slow. My favorite thing to do is actually just typing into a new browser, Common Sense Canva, and it'll show me directly to that review, or Common Sense Best Interactive Tools. And that'll come up as well. And there we go. There's the Canva one. So you can see right there. And maybe, Lori, maybe you'll write a review later talking about how you used it. That would be great. Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Laura, and I'll be sharing Wide Open School stuff later when we get to the SEL part.
You got it. All right. 1 second here. So I know Gina's on the call. I'm going to turn it over to Gina. Gina, hopefully you can unmute yourself, because I'd love for you to share how some parent coordinators can join our Flipgrid. We have some cool work that's happening. So Gina, if you're here, please unmute yourself. I'd love for you to share with our parent coordinators.
Oh, thank you so much, Laura. Hi, everyone. My name is Gina Tesserero, and I work at DIT with Christina. And I love being here on these Fridays because the energy is just so amazing. And it really is my highlight of the week. So we're doing this, we're trying to get some feedback and thoughts from our parent coordinators, as well as our students and families. And we really wanted to reach out to you all for help. So we have these 4 questions that we'd love if you guys can answer. You can answer either with our Flipgrid, or you can fill out the survey if you prefer. And we just want to know about your remote learning experiences and how we can help you. And I'm going to be sharing this information with my DIT colleagues so that we can improve the kind of services we provide and the resources we create. And there's also an email on this that has a list of questions for families and from students, and we need your help to reach out to them. And so, yeah, I think that's it, Laura. Let me know if there's any other questions I can answer.
All right, awesome. Well, I think we'll just drop these links into the chat to make it easier for folks. But you guys know the drill. You did Flipgrid a few weeks ago. We had our Flipgrid. So, you know, this is a great tool. Again, we're talking about tools that we can use both, you know, as parent coordinators, but also with our students and with our families. Flipgrid is one of them. Your students are probably familiar with this, but maybe your parents don't know about it. I highly recommend you get them using it. It's a great, great tool. Again, we know some of you were doing it with us, so please feel free to share, okay? And with that, guess what? It's time for our polls. We got to figure out who is here. So 1 second, I'm gonna launch our poll. Let us know who is in the room. I get the feeling, I know we got a lot of PCs. You guys always pack the house. But who else is here? So take a moment and respond. And if you happen to be an other, we're nosy. We just like to know what you doing. Tell us. Pop it in the chat. Let us know. And I'm seeing some folks in the chat popping it. Listen, we get it. DOE is totally an alphabet soup. If you're using some sort of acronym, I see AACEC. I don't know what that means.
Hi, we have our AAs here. Yes.
Someone tell me, what's AA? I think a different AA. That's
Administration Assistant Vanessa from CC11, so our Community Education Councils. So Vanessa supports our community education in District 11.
Love it. Oh my goodness. Well, shouting you out, Vanessa. Thank you so much for showing up today.
Yes, and invite other AAs from all of the districts.
Absolutely.
We have a para. Hi. Welcome.
Love it.
Family Leadership Coordinator, Omira, who works with Abigail. So shout out, Omira.
All right, folks, I'm going to give you about 5 more seconds. Last few moments to respond to this poll. And then you know how we do. I'm going to end it. I'll share it with you guys. But let me do our next poll, because we got to know, how are you feeling? And we're actually going to talk about this because this is part of SEL. So we're very intentional. Christina is going to explain more about why this isn't just like a little hokey thing that we do. It actually has a lot of value. So we're going to get into that, but we got to know how you feeling. And it's perfectly okay to say you're feeling a little tired. Maybe you're upset about some stuff. I don't know. It's been crazy. It's 2020. All feelings are valid, but hopefully you're feeling pumped, because I'm pumped. I'm in that happy mood. Being here with all of you folks, honestly, especially after hearing from Abigail and Lori, you don't understand. Like, I'm going to throw it back to my elementary days. my bucket is very full right now. I'm feeling all the love. You guys are so awesome. I'm so impressed by all the hard work that you guys are doing, and you're really taking to heart everything we've shared. So I'm super happy. We might even need to update this. I don't know. Happy doesn't quite, I think, express how.
I think we're gonna need a 2021 version, Laura.
Yeah, we like with like the fist pump and everything.
We might become gifts and just take it to a whole new level.
Ooh, that's 2021 goals. Christina, we're on that. We're about, it just got real fancy. We're about to make some gifts, guys. All right, last few moments to respond to the feeling before I end it and we actually get into our SEL presentation. So last few moments, and there we go. And it looks like most of you are really, really happy. We got some tired, but that's always, I mean, come on. All right, but let's get underway because like I said, we have an awesome presentation for you today. Let me come out of here. So we are all about SEL today, SEL resources for remote learning. So 1 second. Oh, I hit the share instead of present. That's just the kind of day it is. All right. So here is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about what SEL is. Again, this is, especially this year, this is a buzz acronym, right? You know, everyone is talking about SEL, but maybe you don't really know what that means. So we're going to break it down. We're going to talk about resources and routines that you can be using. Tali has got some awesome resources from Wide Open School that she is going to share with us. We'll actually do a couple of activities and go into a breakout room to actually find those great resources on Wide Open School. Then we'll kind of wrap up with some best practices. And, you know, we got to have Q&A for you folks. So anything that you're seeing that you're like, wait, can you say more about that? We'll give you some time. And then we'll wrap up before it's the final session of 2020. I'm kind of like sad because it's, you know, it's bittersweet, but we're coming back in 2021. So don't be too sad. All right. So what is SEL? Again, this is a topic that we've been hearing a lot about. And, you know, the chancellor has made this a priority. You've probably received some sort of guidance from your school, but just to break it down, SEL is the process through which all young people and adults acquire and apply the knowledge, skills, and attitudes to develop healthy identities, manage emotions, and achieve personal and collective goals. It's how you feel and show empathy for others. It's about establishing and maintaining supportive relationships and about making responsible and caring decisions. So this is important stuff, right? Like this is not just like fluffy, like, oh yeah, emotions. No, especially now, this work is so important. So in order to really hammer it home, I want us to watch, it's a really quick video, only 3 minutes, but it's going to explain why SEL is important. So as you're watching, you know the protocol, pay attention to the 4 reasons that this video identifies as SEL being important. And then when we finish watching the video, I want you to think about how this information is going to help you as you think about supporting your families with SEL. So 1 second here. I always got to make sure I got the right. Having to make sure the audio shares properly, folks, but here we are.
Challenging, unprecedented, uncertain. These words all describe what we're experiencing right now as students, educators, and families are faced with navigating a new normal. But as we plan for the school year ahead, one thing is clear: the intrinsic value of social emotional learning, or SEL. Here's why. 1. SEL can foster a sense of safety and be used with trauma-sensitive practices. Students can't focus on learning if they don't feel safe and supported. The COVID-19 pandemic and the crisis around systemic racism have created traumatic experiences for many families. These experiences contribute to fear, anger, and anxiety, and increase the risk of toxic stress. As part of a trauma-sensitive approach, SEL can help students manage their emotions in a safe and supportive way and set them up for learning success. 2. SEL helps build positive connections and relationships. This upcoming school year involves a lot of uncertainty, and site closures have made it difficult to maintain the strong relationships that previously developed between students, teachers, and families. This fall, whether you're planning for in-person or remote teaching, using SEL to build trusting connections within your learning community can help lay the necessary foundation for academic learning. 3. SEL helps address the learning inequality caused by school closures. Remote learning is inherently challenging and not always appropriate developmentally. Students who are already struggling socially or academically are often the ones who face more severe challenges with remote learning. SEL can play a key role in helping students build the skills they need for effective learning, from self-regulation to problem solving, especially in an out-of-school setting. Teachers and staff manage stress, build trust with students and colleagues, and stay engaged at work, SEL can strengthen the whole school community. Now is the time to bring SEL front and center. But don't just take our word for it. In a recent survey by CASEL with responses from 37 states, 84% reported that SEL has increased in importance as a response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And 78% of states reported that district-based SEL requests have increased since the beginning of the pandemic. We often talk about SEL in terms of improving behavior or its academic benefits. But SEL also builds skills that help bring us together in times of crisis and in everyday life. And in this uniquely challenging moment, school year.
All right, folks. So, one second here. I've been having all sorts of audio issues. So my apologies, but let's take a moment right now. Please pop into the chat. Let me go back to, hold on here. So you saw the 4 reasons they were identifying as to why this is important. So think about how this information is helping you with supporting your families. I mean, I already have some ideas. I feel this goes hand in hand with some of the work Lori was sharing before. You know, part of building trust is just kind of being open to your families, right? And so things like, you know, morning coffee talk and tea time, you know, on Wednesdays, and maybe even a little wine and book club talk, like that goes a long way. So think about how you're going to use this as you are supporting your families. And yes, Natisha, short and sweet. We like short and sweet. You know, just if you guys are ever doing videos and sharing videos with your families, try and keep it quick. Unless you're doing a watch party, which is very different. But if you are sharing any type of like educational video, my advice is try and keep it 5 and under. Because any longer, people just don't have the bandwidth, and then it becomes like, oh my gosh, when is this video over? So if you can keep it quick. And yet I see in the chat, Tony's asking, is this something to show to parents? You could. I mean, this is just from YouTube. I get a lot of videos from YouTube. My advice on that front is always watch the video, watch it full way through. You know, you guys remember this. This is how you also develop your frame, focus, and follow up. You want to be able to make sure you know exactly what's going to play in the video so that you can highlight certain points. So always do your research. Never walk in blind and go, oh yeah, I did this YouTube search. I found this video. It was like the first one. If you don't watch it beforehand, that's a recipe for disaster. But any other ideas about why this is important? Again, we're hearing SEL is front and center for so many school districts, including New York City. That was something that Carranza talked about at the beginning of the school year, is really making sure that schools were addressing the SEL piece of things, and there were some resources that were being put together. So we're going to cover some of that because they actually talked about certain apps that were available to staff and families. So we'll get into that, but this should not be new. actually. This should absolutely not be new. If this is the first time you're hearing SEL this year, oh boy. Hopefully that it isn't. But let's keep going, because I don't want to play it again. One of the things that they mentioned in this video is CASEL. So if you don't know about them, they are one of the leading organizations when it comes to SEL. And they have this great diagram to really kind of show how social and emotional learning kind of looks like in terms of the various skills, and how it really starts from within and then expands out. So the CASEL 5 addresses 5 broad interrelated areas of competence and highlights examples for each. So you have your self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision making. And the way they deem their work is that it can be taught and applied at various various developmental stages from childhood to adulthood and across diverse cultural contexts. So we happen to know so many school districts, states, and even countries are using this approach to establish preschool to high school learning standards and competencies that articulate what students should know and be able to do for academic success, school and civic engagement, health and wellness, and fulfilling careers. So that's why, I want to break it down. Like, SEL is not this fluffy, like, oh, it's kind of nice, but like, no. It truly is so, so important to address. The learning can't really happen if kids don't feel safe. And the same is true with adults, right? It's really hard to focus at work. And you guys probably know the same is true. You can't really focus when you got a bunch of personal stuff going on. When you've just received really, bumming out kind of news, when you find out that, the health of a family member is in jeopardy. Like, these are things that are real. So if you're feeling it, imagine our students, imagine our families. And that is why this is so, so important. This is not fluffy. This is not like, oh, it's nice in theory. This is absolutely a must. So we're going to go over some resources for SEL. Again, there's a lot out there. We have been very careful in curating some good stuff for you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Christina, who's going to run through some routines that you can use to incorporate SEL into the work that you're doing.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura. This is exciting stuff. So before I go over the slide, I just want to say, so SEL has always been around for physical classroom environment or physical environments. And then now, because a lot of us are remote, we have to think about it through the lens of remote as well. So when we're thinking about this slide, like, yes, because we're remote, we're probably going to contextualize all of this in a remote setting, but also think about when we do go back into the physical classroom, how you can bring that back when you go there as well. So a lot of you probably do this already. I mean, how many times do you go to a virtual meeting and you notice that in the beginning of your meeting, people are just naturally checking in with each other? The meeting doesn't start off immediately. That's a social check-in. So incorporating some social check-ins, whether it's with the whole group or whether it's one-on-one. Typically, my team, we like to do social check-ins in the beginning, and then we get back, we get down to business. So think about, where you can have that fun and engaging time just for people to catch up with one another. I mean, we're all human, the holidays now, right? Also social check-in when you're wearing your Christmas hat or your holiday attire. So having social check-ins with people. How are people doing? Just check in. Stretch break built into lessons, whether that's in the physical classroom or in a meeting. So let's model that behavior right now. Everyone, let's take like a 20-second stretch break. Ooh, feels good. Yes. It's kind of like a brain break too, right? So we're just pausing from the presentation and we're just taking a moment just to stretch things out. So stretches just give people, just time to just relax and take a break from the seriousness of what's happening, the meaning of what's happening, just a quick way to just detach. Using music at the start of your meetings or at the end of your meetings. This is something that we try to do as well here on Fridays. That's always great. As you can see, even when Lori was sharing her presentation, there was music going on. We were just like, yeah, we were dancing, we were having a good time. So it's always great to just incorporate that extra level of just, having fun, playing music, even in the background. That's why I need to bring DJ Perez back for some of these Fridays too, right? He has the ultimate setup. And then team building and icebreaker activities. Look, I have to say, in this remote environment, it is definitely hard to do like team building activities, but it is possible. You could do breakout rooms, you could share like fun things. It doesn't always have to be work related, just having that element of fun, getting people to know each other, and just blocking out that time is just so, so, so super important. And I just have to say, one of the things that got me through COVID is just working out with a group of ladies in the morning. And, you got to do what you got to do for you. It's not always about work. So, think about for your own SEL, what you could do for yourself. And then the next slide, I know that we always model this with our presentations, and we have the shocked face, the happy face, the sad face, and I was joking about making them gifts. But one way we could do that and interact with people is, instead of just identifying and clicking, and this is something, shout out to Gina if you're still on the call, this is something that Gina gave me an idea for. You could actually interact with these emotions as well. So think about the next time you start a meeting, if you wanted to do a check-in with your colleagues or with whoever is a part of this meeting, you could actually have them click on one of these faces and it would bring them to a meditation, right? So like if you're feeling frustrated, here's like a little meditation or like a sound bath music of like how you could, hopefully to get your mood and to get you up. So you could think about, maybe there's a way to have this choice board and make it be a social emotional learning choice board, just to help people get through a day if they're feeling sad, or if they're feeling happy, just to bolster that happiness. Whatever it is, you could interact with those emotions. And you can copy this slide as well. Remember, if you steal our stuff, that is the best form of flattery. So please, please, please do feel free to steal it. And that QR code will take you right to the presentation. And so will the short URL right below. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Laura.
Thank you. And these are fabulous, I have to say. So I quickly, as you can see, I clicked on the happy, but this is another way where you're giving your participants that choice of like, not only am I telling you how I feel, but then it actually does something. I think that's the really beautiful part of it. So I'm going to steal this, Christina. I love it. And I said it before, but it is absolutely not stealing. Like, this is what we're doing here. We bring you resources, we want you using this. We want you sharing this out with families. So please, I'm in agreement with Christina. Best form of flattery, continue to use our stuff and share it out. Spread the love, pay it forward, right?
How many people, by the way, go like, please steal our stuff? Like, yes, please do. It is the best.
We want you to have this, guys. We really, really do. That's what this is about. So feel free, steal it, make it your own, add your own twist to it. But whatever you do, like, it's not good enough if you like take it and then just like put it away, file it away. I don't understand that logic. I'm all about like, ooh, I got this new thing. I can't wait to show everybody. All right. So moving on, couple of apps for SEL. And the chancellor shared, that's where I found Comcast. He actually shared this in an email. So there's a few apps that are available. Some come with a price tag. I know I believe is 99 cents a month. So, I know, like, I'm Christina and the girls will tell you, I'm the cheapest person alive. It almost kills me to spend money on apps. But at the same time, when you're talking about your own social emotional health, 99 cents a month doesn't feel like a lot, especially when, you can easily drop like upwards of $5 for a Starbucks. You drop so much money for all these other things. So, these are things that are worth it. But if you need an app, things like Comcast, Headspace, and Calm are available to you. And Tony, I do think Calm is free for educators. I'm not quite sure how to do that, but something tells me it has to do with like the email you use and verifying. But yes, many of these resources have been made available to educators. They typically also have a free version. It starts out as a freemium, which means the basic version is free. And then you have some content that's available at a premium type of price. But either way, this is another great opportunity for you to incorporate SEL, because a lot of what I hear, especially from my own families and students that I've supported in the past, is that it can be hard. You don't know what to do, right? Regulating emotions isn't necessarily the easiest thing. for kids especially, but also for adults. It's hard to regulate emotions, and so it's nice to have either an application like what we're showing, or what Christina showed a moment ago with like those boards where it takes you somewhere. Because for so many of us, we just don't know what to do. Right. So apps can be a very nice kind of way to, all right, I'm feeling all sorts of ways. Let me bring my emotions down. Right. Or I'm feeling really tired. Maybe I need to pick myself up. But kind of knowing where you are and what you need, that's part of SEL, and that takes skill and practice, because like I said, for so many of us, regulation is really, really hard. And I see someone popped into the chat, mood meter. I worked at the school that I was at before I came to DIIT. We did all this work around the Yale Emotional Center, so that's where some of this absolutely comes from. If you're using that work, the mood meter, the charter, all of that good stuff, I mean, you really do want to use a very formal type of approach, I think, when it comes to SEL. So if you're not using something like the CASL 5, or an approach like the that comes to us from the Yale Emotional Center, it can feel a little bit difficult. So my advice is definitely kind of pick something that you're going to use school wide, but we're going to talk more about that in a moment with our best practices. Right now, though, I want to turn it over to Tali, who's going to walk us through some really amazing resources on Wide Open School, which you will remember are absolutely free. So Tali, please take it away.
Great, thanks so much, Laura. And I love Mood Meter. I just want to say, I'm noting, Laura, that I want to talk to you more about your experience. And I also want to highlight, just in the chat, I put in the direct link to all the free student activities around social emotional well-being. And I also want to highlight that if you're not looking at the chat, Miss Rosado has posted a bunch of resources. She's doing a lot of presentations on this. So thank you for sharing, and feel free to follow up with her as well. She shared her email too. Okay, great. So actually, do you mind opening up that link, Laura, and sharing your screen? So actually, it's on the home page right away, and you can just click emotional well-being. I know I've shared with you these winter break activities. I encourage you to look at those, but I just want to, if you scroll down a little bit more, you can see how you can filter by different activities. If you're someone like me who's partial to videos, or if you're looking for something that's more interactive, you can always look at that. And if you scroll back up to the top, you can also filter by grade level. So whatever you last looked at, that'll be the default. So if you were looking at grades 3 through 5, it'll go to that. If you're looking at high school, it'll go through that. And one last piece I want to show you before we do an activity all together is that there is, if you scroll down again, sorry, Laura, you can see that you can heart activities. So those holiday cards, if you already want to heart those are really great. You can check them out later. They're beautiful free holiday cards in English and Spanish that you can send to people. But now I'm going to have draw your attention to the far left where it says that gratitude jar. And we're going to do this activity together. And the activity that we're going to do I chose this intentionally because I think this is something nice that you can do with your families, or you can share with members of your community, and they can share it with families too. So at home, you could create your own gratitude jar and drop in little notes. We're going to do it virtually because we're not together. If we were in person, I would have everybody write something down and put it in that jar. So if you don't mind going back to the presentation, Laura, I set up, and it's the next slide. We're going to go ahead and share in Menti. So I have the link, so I'll put it in the chat right now so that you can just directly share. And when you go to Menti, Menti is one of those tools that I love because it's free and it doesn't collect any data. And when you click on that Menti, it's going to ask you to share 3 words of what you're grateful for or what you're thankful for. And then it's going to create a word cloud. So depending on what people write, the more things they write, the bigger it's going to be. So if a lot of people write friendship, it'll continue to get bigger and so forth. So please go ahead and fill out that Menti right now. And then Laura's sharing the results. So that should start to get a little bit bigger. If anyone is having issues with it, let me know. Oh, I'm seeing it populating. Can't get to the name. I'll pop that Menti link. I'm going to give us a little bit more time. And I'll later pop in a resource so you can learn more about Menti too, but go ahead and share that in this word cloud. And this is something nice that you can share with your families. This is great. So seeing family is popping up a lot, health, work, friends. Give us about 10 more seconds. Yeah, sometimes it needs to be refreshed, but I think it's getting bigger, Laura, right?
Yeah, I think I've been having issues on my device, so I keep having to like.
Okay. Yeah,
I think
maybe
it needs refreshing because mine aren't showing up.
Yeah, hold on here. There we go. I keep having to manually hit refresh.
Nice.
It's probably my device.
Great. Lisa, I'm going to guess you put in dog. No. Okay.
I put parent coordinators.
Aw. This is
But I
great.
still don't see it.
Oh.
Might take another second. So we'll keep that up, and I'll actually pop into the link the results as well, so that everybody can see it if you want to keep looking at that. This is great. And now we're going to shift to another interactive part. So if we go back to the presentation and the next slide, we're going to go into breakout sessions in a moment. And, you know, I have the link up for the emotional well-being activities. I'd love for you to look there and heart things that you like and think about what you could do with your families. I also want to say, you know, Laura and Christina have shared a lot of great activities. Abigail and Lori did too. I want to open it up and give this, give you a time right now to really talk with each other about what you can use and how you can use it. And the last interactive tool that we're sharing is, if you click on that link, Laura, it says record on this Padlet, is we'd love to capture the ideas of what you're talking about here. So Padlet is another tool that I love because it's free and it doesn't collect data. And this is the timeline one. So if you see that little plus button, Laura, if you don't mind clicking on that plus button, and you can just type in, you can also add GIFs and a lot of other things, but you could just type in, you know, I plan to do X activity. And I'll go ahead and put in an example too while you're in your group. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go into breakout rooms. Laura, is that okay if we give people 7 minutes? Can we give them? Okay, great.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Okay, great. So we're going to go ahead and give you 7 minutes. You're going to be in small groups. You can look at those links. So go ahead and open up that wide open school link that was in the chat, and I will pop it in one more time. And remember, you can filter it by grade level. Here we go. I had to refind it. And talk about some activities that you can use with your families or share from both that link and kind of this presentation overall.
All right, folks, so you should see something on your screen directing you to go to a breakout room. Please, at this point, go ahead and go there. You've got your assignment.
And actually, I don't know if it'll go to everyone if we pop in the Padlet link too.
Yeah, well, I can broadcast a message.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
You got it.
So I noticed that there's a bunch of folks who aren't in breakout rooms. If you want to stay in this room That's completely fine if you want to ask any questions or discuss what activities you've been doing or activities that you'd like to do. Please go ahead and let's take that time.
I lost my audio.
We can hear you. So I can also go ahead and share my screen.
We weren't hearing each other in the breakout room. We couldn't hear each other. I don't know if that's happening for everyone else, but.
Okay, well, let's stay. I mean, we're a pretty large group right now, so we could either, you could, I think, potentially rejoin a different breakout room, or I could send you in to one, or we could go ahead and work together as a group here. Anything jump out at you, Patricia?
I feel like I've even lost my train of thought. We were talking about SEL and the gratitude, and I mean, I've been sharing the program that you've been sharing with us, with my families, and actually the school sent it home again this weekend with for the families to do the activities. But yeah, I don't know.
That's great. Yeah, Laura, were you going to say something?
Oh, no. Someone requested me in one of the other breakout rooms, so I went and now I'm back. Okay. If there's anything I can do to support folks in here, please let me know.
I think Vanessa wanted to, I don't know if you can put her back into her breakout room.
I should be able to. Let's try. So Vanessa, let's see here.
And I'm, as we're in this group, I'm looking at that Padlet. I'll pop that back in, but I'm seeing that people are posting up a lot of ideas. So I know that this is something also from the emotional well-being site, but is letters to essential workers, people being into the gratitude jar.
So Vanessa, you should have seen something on your screen prompting you to go to room 11. Hopefully that worked for you. Please go ahead and join if you can.
Yeah. Mr. Cruz, anything that jumps out at you for the emotional well-being activities that you could share with your families?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I just joined in from a superintendent's meeting. I was hoping to catch up.
Okay, great. Let me, I'm going to repost in the chat. We're looking at emotional well-being activities from Wide Open School and thinking about what would work with our families. And
thank you.
And then I'm also going to go ahead and share my screen for a moment. I realized, Laura, that I haven't been tracking the time. I don't know if you have.
I have. And okay. In fact, we have 1 more minute, so I'm going to let folks know.
Okay, and to post on the Padlet maybe again. So here's some activities that you could do. I like this bask in the glow, making sure you go outside.
You know, not to interrupt, but is there any way, because I have a lot of Asian speaking families and I've been sharing this, and the Spanish I see that they can translate. But does this get, like if they go on with Google, can it be translated?
I'm so glad you asked. We're actually in the process right now of creating, of adding a Google Translate button.
Okay.
And that's actually the only reason it's been promoted to DOE staff, but it hasn't been promoted directly to families because of that. But in the new year, it'll absolutely be translatable.
Great, because I've been sharing it with the families to go to, for them to go on. But then I realized that it's not, most of my families just can't, it's a lot to translate.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
And the way I've also been talking about it is, especially when you click that student activities button for kids, once they're able to read, that's really designed as a safe place where they can also go and find activities, so parents can know that too.
Great, that's good. Good to know.
I think we're all back, Tali. We were having really great conversations in some of the room. I apologize if you were in our room, we got cut off, but it is on the Padlet.
Oh, that's great. Actually, Christina, can I ask you to share some highlights as while we click on that Padlet?
Yeah, sure. I mean, some of the things that resonated were the gratitude jar. And then just for clarification, the Mentimeter that you did before was also a remote gratitude jar. So that definitely really resonated. We were also sharing in the chat that, where did it go? I just wrote it down. Oh, I'm sorry, please feel free to take yourself unmute and add your name. I didn't catch your name, but there are workshops through Brainpower, and they were just adding how there's monthly workshops with Brainpower, meditation videos about being grateful, making sure our light is shining bright. So that kind of went off and resonated with that mindful moment. That's also a part of the resources that you shared out, Tali.
Great, fantastic. I know people are sharing on Padlet, they're sharing in the chat. Anyone want to share with their voice for a moment what they discussed in their group, or anything that jumped out about how you might be using this with your families?
Hello. Hi, my name is Siobhan Garcia. How are you? How is everyone?
Hi, Siobhan. Thanks.
Hi. Karen was in my my group, and she was amazing. And we talked about pretty much how to relax. And I was telling her my method of relaxing during the weekend, how I do bubble baths, I do candles, actually use the calming app with all the different sounds and different things to calm me down during the weekend to relieve stress from the work week. So, and we had a really good conversation. She was really, really sweet.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that. And I love that you are connecting and are able to. And even that activity, Siobhan, like if you brought that and had one of your parent coffees and just talked about ways to unwind and relax, that sounds like a great use of time too.
I was also telling her about with the parents at my school. I just try to help them, like, to have fun with their kids with different ideas of, like, maybe like one of my ideas that I have is we have a very diverse school. So a lot of the parents, they love to cook. So what I did was like a cooking recipe kind of thing where they swap different recipes and take pictures and, send it to each other and have a little good time to connect with the different parents in our school. I thought that was pretty cool. So I mentioned that too. So anybody thinking of that? That's a great idea. If you have a lot of parents that love to cook, just start a cooking group.
Awesome.
Wow, that's a great idea. We should do a citywide. Like everybody come in and feature a parent. That's awesome.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you so much, Siobhan. And I love seeing that other folks are sharing ideas too about what they're doing. One other thing I wanted to share that came up in the group I was in is for you all to know that come the new year, Wide Open School is going to have the Google Translate button up. So it will be translatable into every language. So that's being updated right now. In the meantime, students can go directly to the student activities bucket themselves over the break. It's safe. All of the resources are high quality and free. So for kids who are able to read on their own, they could go in there as activities.
Awesome. Tali, again, thank you for sharing Wide Open School and the awesome resources that are on there. Every time I go, I'm just like blown away at the amazing resources that are on there. And I think, especially now, parents they need so much support. And the great thing with Wide Open School is that it's curated for you because, as any parent has probably done in this pandemic, you do a Google search and you type in something and you hope you get something good. You kind of keep your fingers crossed. Well, that's where Wide Open School kind of cuts that piece of it out. You can guarantee that if it's on their site, one, it's safe, but two, it's high quality. And that's so important right now. So again, thank you so much for sharing. A couple of more things to just keep in mind as we're doing this work. We wanted to share a couple of best practices. And when it comes to SEL, it's interesting because we all know the importance, but sometimes actually doing this work gets a little tricky because people, it's like, who really wants to talk about emotions? It sometimes gets it feels hokey, right? Like people are like, oh, really? We're going to do an icebreaker. So one of the things that we have identified is to kind of get the participation going, it helps to randomize it, right? So that folks kind of, it's like you just jump in. So I love these. These ideas came to us from Lisa, but one way to make it random, person with the most pets, you speak first, right? It could also be, the person with the most friends on social media. And this is by no means an exhaustive list. So we're just giving you a couple that you can maybe use yourself, but it could be the person whose birthday is closest to today. You could start with the person with the most kids and grandkids combined, person who went to college the farthest from NYC, or even person with the longest name, right? That's always interesting to find out. And the great part about this is that not only are these fun, but it helps to start the conversation and get people to open up to each other. And that's the big piece of it, is that when we're talking about SEL, it's about getting the conversation started. And it's hard to talk about emotions. It's hard to talk about like the rough stuff when you don't feel like you know people, right? Like that's always awkward. Hence why people are like, oh, we're going to do SEL. Like I used to feel that way sometimes. We were going to run through an activity. It's like, oh my gosh, this is silly. But once you get in it, it actually is fun and you let your guard down. But that's the thing. You can't just launch into this work. You kind of have to make it fun. You have to give people an in. Some other things to keep in mind as well. So right now, it is all about being open and flexible, right? With everything happening, nothing is set in stone. And, situations arise. It's kind of just important to just be open and flexible and to understand that this is all for everyone a work in progress. When we're talking about an effective SEL approach, it has to be school-wide, right? And you guys know this, right? We've talked about this with our websites, right? This is not the work of one person. You really need to approach this as a school. So think about who that means in your school. I always, when it came to the SEL stuff, I always leaned on folks like my school guidance counselor, the school psychologist, and the social worker. But there's also other folks in the building too. So remember, this is not just the work of one person. This really needs to be a school-wide approach. Now, I started out by saying this as well, but SEL is for everyone. It's not just students, right? I mean, obviously, we all work in schools and we're supporting our students and we're supporting our families, but this is also about ourselves, right? You cannot be an effective parent coordinator. You cannot be an effective teacher, an administrator, or anything to anyone else unless you take care of yourself first. That is so, so key. And we kept hearing that being spoken about at the beginning of the pandemic, right? Like the analogy of you need to put your mask on first before you help someone else. It is the same way. When it comes to SEL, you need to take care of yourself first. If you are not in a good place mentally, if you aren't unable to kind of do your own things, how much harder does it become to try and help a family or to help a student? So this is about everyone, not just our students. Now, as you saw, it's just as important as the academics. In fact, it's hard to get to the academics without addressing the emotional needs first. Think about Maslow's hierarchy, right? Maslow's hierarchy says that psychological, safety, and emotional needs need to be met first before we even get to the academics, right? So important that we understand this is not like fluffy, oh, it's nice. Yeah, if you can do it. No. This is just as important. And it oftentimes helps to actually facilitate the academic process. When you see, parents talking about my kid isn't showing up, my kid isn't motivated, they don't want to do school, chances are it's because something in that social emotional world for them is not right. And if you're not in that headspace, you're not doing academics. So this is just as important. But also keep in mind that everyone deals with emotions differently. Some of this is cultural, right? Some of this has to do with your upbringing. And so just keep in mind that, everyone kind of does this differently. So it's important to create a safe space where folks feel comfortable talking about their emotions, their needs, and their frustration, and also comfortable to understand that some folks are never going to fully open up, and that's actually like a cultural thing. In certain cultures, you just don't talk about emotions. Doesn't mean you don't have them, doesn't mean that it's not important to them, but they may never feel comfortable. Keep that in mind too, that you may do some of this work and still encounter folks who resist. That is okay too. I always say on that front, assume the best, right? With everything going on, everyone is fighting a battle that you probably actually know nothing about. At some point, the family that you're trying to help, maybe the student that you're supporting, is going through something and they're not going to tell you. So all the more reason to assume the best in folks. Be kind, right? I understand we're all stressed to the max, but when you're feeling that way, take a deep breath and regulate for yourself. Try not to let it get you bogged down. And then with that, remember, breaks are a must. We've told you many a times, Christina went over it. We keep saying it because in this day and age, it feels like we're going from meeting to meeting to meeting, right? It's like all of a sudden everything is warp speed. But that's why breaks are key. And it's important to vary up the kind of breaks, short ones where you do a quick stretch, maybe in the middle, you stand up, you look away from your device, but also keep in mind some of those longer breaks. Take time to be away from your device. As great as they are, and obviously they help us connect, it's also important to have a little time where maybe you're not doing things on a screen, right? You're getting together with your family. Maybe it's just over dinner, or you're playing a board game, but you're doing something to also get away from your device. And even though this is super hard in this quarantine, and it's, we're heading up on the holiday season, it's important to try and take, those breaks and then yet still be with each other. So do something, do something together, but also do things alone, which is really hard to do right now because, again, we're just all cooped up. But even if it means taking a quick walk around the block, listening to music on your own device with your own headphones, we need that balance, because I've also heard from a lot of folks, it's like, oh my goodness, I can never get away from my family, right? It's like, maybe you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I've seen the same people for the past 10 months. I'm done. So keep all of these things in mind. All right. But hopefully this has given you some tools to feel confident in talking about SEL with your family community, with your school community, and also for yourselves. At this point, we would like to open it up for any questions, comments, anything you want to share. Feel free, share it either in the chat, or you know how we roll. If you want to unmute, feel free as well. Oh, and I'm seeing in the chat, thank you, Kim, for sharing that. This is definitely tough, and we were very intentional about doing this now, particularly as we head into the break. We know that this is hard. This is hard stuff. This is going to be a holiday season like no other, right? And we keep hearing that, right? Like, this is a year like no other, but this truly is a holiday season like no other. And it's tough, but at the same time, we want to make you feel like you have the resources to power through, right? You've been powering through all these months. Continue to power through. We're getting closer and closer, right? There's been good news these past few weeks. We have a vaccine, right? We're gonna get there. We are. So
that TREP training is a little deep though. It's hard to share that. I mean, for me with a parent, because it's hard to get them to participate with regular meetings, and some of them have some deep things. Like I had a parent who just lost her husband last week. It's hard to get her to come to a meeting when she's dealing with this kind of stuff.
Of course. And I thank you so much for sharing that. I will tell you, having done some of the work from the Yale Emotional Center, you will get folks that aren't ready, right? Maybe you're going to do some of this PD, and like you said, you're not going to get that parent to come. It's not on you. Sometimes all we can do is offer. Folks will come when they're ready, right? And it's the same with some of our students. It's like you can show them the resources, but it's up to them to actually kind of carry it out. So you keep providing that opportunity. They will come when they're ready, right? And it's not difficult. It's not easy. This is actually difficult stuff. And some of your parents will not share for quite some time. They may listen. They may, the first time they join, maybe they're just that fly on the wall. That is okay too.
Yeah, I think the key is like opportunities, right? And letting them know that you're there. So even through this training where, I feel like on Fridays when we set these trainings and even on Wednesdays, we want an opportunity for us to connect in a way that is fun and engaging. So as you can see, although we're not physically seeing each other, but we're still connecting. I still feel a part of a community. um and everything that we do, we hope that you guys can see. Like, I know there's a lot of virtual parties that are happening right now that families can kind of still engage. And there's app, I don't know if you guys heard of House Party, and it's free. I like House Party. Sometimes when I hear Zoom, now I'm connecting Zoom to work. A House Party is another place where you guys can connect, play games. They even have karaoke. So catch me on House Party because I'm there doing karaoke. But
Terry, is
yeah,
it possible to stagger the events though? Because unfortunately on Fridays I have attendance meetings at the same time that these things go on, and once a month a superintendent's meeting that's at the same frame time. So I get to miss a lot of your or come in the middle of the end. Common sense is, it's a great resource, and I've been able to catch only like snippets.
Oh no, but you know what? We have the pre-recording session. In the chat, raise your hand if you're a part of our community on Teams. We have a community where, that's right, Laurie. We're gonna continue having conversations in that team channel. So I do, for now on, guys, instead of getting it at the end of the week wrap up email, the pre-recording for today, we're just gonna put it into Teams. So make sure that the FLCs and FSCs, feel free to share um, the team chat, so that we can all just continue conversations there. I feel like, you guys are my community, and we don't have it where you have the PC website, but I think Teams is actually a little bit more accessible as far as getting the information out quick. So yeah. So thank you for sharing that.
I wanted to say, if I may say something.
Sure.
So I wanted to say that, I know that some folks are like a little bit upset with 2020, but and I'm thankful that all my family's safe, that nobody's been sick. And I try doing my workshops and parent presentations to bring out that positive, because I know everybody's feeling lonely and everybody's feeling sad. So I think it's important that we as parent coordinators reflect that, even though reflect on the parents, that it's going to be okay, especially because a lot of times the children are watching. So they don't, even though we're having adult talks, they don't really need to hear negativity. So one of the things I try to do is try to just be positive, and even though, like I said, I know a lot of people are saying, burn 2020, we still have to be thankful that we're here and that our family's safe. And even though a lot of people have lost their family, we feel for them. It's not that we're being inconsiderate, we feel for them, but we have to also be thankful that we're still here.
Thank you so much for saying that, Cecilia. I feel the same way. You're either a glass half full or a half empty type of person. So I just wanted quickly, because I know some of you have been asking, Raphael, you asked about where you can get these recordings, because we record them. So we can drop the link to our learning calendar. Our learning calendar, we've shared this a few times. It always has our live opportunities, but down here at the bottom, there's these different tabs. And if you go to where it says Friday PDs, that is your section, folks. This is all you. So every single session we've done is here. And then you'll see, we put the link for the recording and then the passcode, because there's always a passcode with Zoom. So if you're unable to join, or you have to leave early, or you joined late and you're like, what did I miss? This is where you can go. So we'll drop the link into the chat. This is our learning calendar. Please, please, please bookmark this. This is one of those resources you're going to want to bookmark, because not only do we have our Friday PDs, we also, if you're ever like, oh, I love that live session, but that's smack in the middle of some other meeting I have to go to, right? If you go to where it says past classes and recorded sessions, we pretty much record all of our sessions as well. So this is, like I said, a great resource for you to have. If you're looking to get more accessibility work, that's the place to go as well. So I see some of you asking about our sign-in. 1 second here. I'm going to pop it into the chat. All right, and then I'm also going to drop the link into the chat for our learning calendar. You're going to want to bookmark that. Like I said, there's a lot of different opportunities on there. We also have specifically created a tab for digital citizenship. We have some more classes that will come onto the calendar in the new year. So you're probably going, wait, there's not a whole lot here, Laura. What's going on? Guys, we're heading into break. You know the drill. Like, ain't nobody got the bandwidth for this next week. So that's why our calendar's looking a little on the light side. But I promise you, in the new year, come back January 4th. You're going to see we have a ton of sessions for you, both on, digital inclusion, digital literacy, and citizenship. So bookmark this. Come back to it. And if you need us, you can always ping us on the side as well. You know the drill. Like, we're always here to help you. We love this community. I can't say that enough. This has been one of the most fabulous PDs we do all week. I mean that, guys. I really, really do. So thank you all.
If I can, Monique, I just want to say thank you to Tali. So common sense was one of the findings for our school community. So I was able to share that with one of our meetings, and one of our parents was so impressed about the resources that really exist in there. And I'm happy today that you mentioned that it's gonna be available in different languages. That's one of the answer really you gave me. That's tomorrow we have another meeting, so I'm gonna share again about that. But for some people, like some families are asking, like they have kids in Dominican Republic or other part of, outside the US, how can they use it? It's still free, and how things goes, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it is 100% free, and you can always go directly to the nycschools.wideopenschool.org site for Wide Open School. We also have just general Wide Open School. We have a special one with New York City that's going to be updated with some specific stuff for all of you. And then I would also recommend going to commonsensemedia.org. And that's where we have, I think Laura's pulling it up too, all of the ratings and reviews on all types of media. Movies, TV shows, websites, games, and you can find best of lists too. And it's currently available in English and Spanish. And again, we're hoping, I'm really hoping that the whole site is going to be translated. Everyone is really committed to that. It's just working out with Google, but for Common Sense Media as well. And I think that's really helpful for a lot of families too, because we're going to have the break. People are looking for TV shows and movies, and there's a lot of high quality stuff out there, and you can find the good stuff. Because there's also a lot of garbage. Yeah.
And I just also want to add that I'm so excited for 2021 because Tali and Common Sense, mentioned, I was like, Tali, can we do a presentation in every district? And she's like, why not? So if you're interested to do a district family day with Common Sense, education, and where we're introducing Wide Open Schools, please send me an email. I'm gonna have a form in 2021 that you can just fill out. We'll actually go into the music. We are going into the new year, and I know that is our time's up. I am looking at the time, so we are out of